Hi guys, welcome back. Queen Osset here, and today I'm going to continue on with hashtag 31 Days of Tarot, sponsored by Ethony. I am today going to address questions, or rather days number 5 through 8. So, day number 5, the card that stalked me the most in 2017. I've been reading for myself for a while, and I did notice over several years that certain cards would pop up constantly, always, especially if I was asking about a particular situation or particular segment or thing that was going on in my life. But I never really noticed about a particular card rather, that would show up consistently than I did more so this year. And at first I thought it was a fluke, and I really didn't pay a lot of attention. I did make note of it, but I really didn't think it was that important until March, when I started to do March of the Pips. And this card was making an appearance, and the stalking was more prevalent no matter which deck I was working with. And I call her my ride or die chick now, because no matter what was going on, the Empress always showed up to remind me to take care of myself, to let me know that I am truly a font of abundance and a wealth of knowledge. She told me also that I can be a bit softer and kinder and a bit more compassionate and still get all of my needs met. She has taught me how to be very nurturing and has pushed me to use my gifts more to bring abundance, health, and blessings to others and myself as well. So that's my stalker card, and I'm hoping she continues to hang around a bit more in 2018. Now, I have noticed that since I've been into the wildwoods, that she has not visited me at all. So I haven't seen her November or December. So maybe when I come out of the wildwoods, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, she'll show up again. So day number 6 is the decks that I've crossed off my wish list. Now, I had several decks on my lust list, I would say. And as I said in my previous video, during my birthday, I had made a promise to myself to receive a parcel in the mail every day from the date of my birthday until the end of the year. Now, that doesn't mean that I received a tarot deck every day until the end of the year, nor does it mean that I paid for a deck. Few of these decks that I acquired that were on my lust list, I actually got them in trade. So the first deck that was on my lust list, believe it or not, is this one, the Justice League Tarot. I didn't get it when it first came out, but it was something that I had. It was just a fantasy deck that I wanted to have in as part of my collection. I'm not going to say that I'm a comic book fan, but I do love my superheroes. I love the idea of an alternate universe. I love the interaction with people who have superpowers. I love the idea of protecting humankind, those who step out of their perceived role and step into becoming something better to help the greater good. So that's one off my wish list. My other deck was, I saw this as a walkthrough on Simon's channel, and it was an unboxing, and unfortunately he did not receive the deck in its entirety. It turned out to have an issue. So I put it at the bottom of my wish list and just said, well, maybe it's not for me. I didn't want to take that chance again. And then I saw Tom Benjamin do a spread using this particular deck, and it was in regards to relationships, and I fell in love with this deck again. And then one of the Facebook groups that I belong to, someone had it up for trade. And so I went ahead and got it. And I am in love with this bodacious deck. Look how big it is. It's got that gold gilding, on the edge there. It's a supersized, overly large deck. It's black and gold. Oops, upside down. Everything about it just screams lushness, richness, decadence. That's what this deck is to me. As a Leo, we love everything large, vibrant, and just in your face passionate. So, the next deck that I had wanted, I'm back. The next deck I had wanted, I saw on, I want to say her name is Lauren from Shy Fox Tarot. And when she presented this deck again, it's just something about it I had wanted, and it's the Gorgon's Tarot. And it's a round deck. I have a few round decks, but this deck is large. I mean, look at that. I can hold it in my hand. It's a large deck, but it's black and white. And I don't know, just something about the imagery I just really like. This is one of the decks that I'm going to be working with in 2018. Another deck that came on my radar fairly shortly, a short time ago, before the end of 2017. I wish I could have gotten it in its original boxing, but I could not. No matter, I still love this artist, and I needed to get it. So this is another deck that I got in trade, and it's the Dali Tarot deck. I want to say, I don't know her name, but Layer Cake, she has the red box. She talked about how she had inherited this deck from her mother-in-law. This is the back here. You see that? There's just a lushness, a richness. I want to say that's probably Dali himself. I'm not sure. I haven't gone through the book just yet. But I wanted it to be part of my tarot collection. Okay, another deck that I had on my wish list was, I saw this deck when it first came out, and then, no longer being printed, then it was reissued, and Kasha did it. Did a walkthrough on this deck, but then Christine of Life Rhythms Tarot Food and Spirit used this deck in an ancestral spread, and I was not ambivalent about it, but I still did not proceed to go ahead and order it. And then I saw Kelly do a walkthrough. Now, I have to give Kelly mad props and kudos. She does the best walkthroughs on YouTube that I've seen, because she walks you through the cards. She gives you an explanation from her point of view of the cards, and then she does a spread. You see the cards in action. You become a part of the whole spread, the whole dynamic. And I watched her do this spread, and I felt her response to her spread that she was doing. It was almost very personal, and I said, okay, that's the deck for me. And it is Tarot of the Crone. Okay, and this is not a deck that's for everybody. I understand that. I went ahead and got the playbook printed out. This is a deck that I will be working with as well in 2018, that I think just gets to the heart of the matter of who you are. I think it pulls no punches. I believe that it just shows you everything so crystal clear. I believe that it speaks to you in a language that is truly unmistakable. So that's one of my other decks that was on my wish list for 2017. And the last deck, well, second to last, the very last, it's on its way. I haven't gotten it yet. But the last deck, you all have heard and seen the hype in regards to this deck. I may eventually do a walkthrough, but it's that one, the Dust to Onyx deck. And this is a deck that I feel has been in the long time making. It's a deck that many of us will connect to. That's the back of it there. Matte gilding. The artist, Courtney Alexander, poured her heart and soul into this deck. She got guidance from the ancestors. She received guidance from her higher self, her spirit guides, to create a truly magnificent tarot deck. I know that many of you have gotten this deck and feel so spiritually attuned, and maybe you might feel that this is out of your realm, but I do encourage everyone to go ahead and experience it. Another thing that I would encourage you to do, and I know many of you do this, when you get a deck with a guidebook, you tend to toss it aside. I would suggest that if you get this deck, that you do read the guidebook, because it's more than a guidebook. It's a book that contains a bit of history and knowledge that I feel is vitally important. Do not attempt to read this deck from the Rider-Waite perspective. Trust me, when you sit down with this deck, do not put the Rider-Waite template on top of it in order to truly tap into it. Okay? And my last deck that's been on my wish list is Delta Enduring. And as soon as I get that deck, if I have time, I'll go ahead and do a walkthrough. So that was day number 6. My next question is my most worked deck in 2017 and why? Well, my most worked deck for clients is the New Palladini. And I read with this deck because the imagery is very clear, it's succinct, I will always say, as I said, the Rider-Waite-Smith, I will always say that it's the grandmother of the tarot, meaning that it's more accessible than the Marseille. The Marseille and all the other decks that are built on that, based on that. I will equate that to being like your parental units, right? And you do something, let's say as a teenager, and your parents ground you. They don't understand, they don't hear what you have to say. But you go to grandma, and grandma has a way of delivering the same message to you that your parents gave to you, the same, edicts, the same bits of knowledge, but in a way that's more, I guess you could say, palatable, a bit more understanding, a bit more on your level, so to speak. And, as human beings, we tend to be more reactive. We tend to take something more in or get a better understanding of things if we have a picture reference, okay? Also, the reason why I call this any deck that's Rider-Waite-Smith based, the grandmother of the decks or grandmother of the tarot, is because many of us come from people who do not have access to wealth, the written word. We learn from pictures. Oh, and there she is again, the Empress. We learn from stories being told. And for us, going all the way back to your cave paintings, stories have been told in pictures like this that we could relate to. So I feel that that grandmother energy of one who is in power, grounded, full of knowledge, and yet able to deliver the information that you need with compassion is the reason why, you know, I stick with the Rider-Waite-Smith system. Personal choice. Okay, so that was for my clients. Now for me, I used this, Tarot of Dreams. It was a challenge for me to work with, not in a bad way that it was difficult. It was just something that I wanted to do. It was something that I wanted to try, and I enjoyed this deck so much that I actually had 2 copies of it. So I'm going to continue to work with this deck because it gave me a bit more growth, a bit more understanding, and besides, I love Chiramachetti. The other deck that I work with, and it's not quite a tarot deck, is this one. This little deck stays in my handbag. You can see how ratty it is. It's an oracle deck. It delivers your messages straight up, no chaser, pulls no punches. It's in alignment with the Rebel deck. I have been able to pull this deck out. Let's see if I could turn this. Pull it out in different situations. People are not offended. People are not upset. Tarot unfortunately tends to have still has a stigmatism, or is it stigma? I don't know. I'll let you wordsmith out there figure that out. It carries a bit of shade, but when you pull out the tough shit tarot, you can say what you need to say. It's all harmless fun, but you get the message, you get the zinger. So, how about this? I'm going to pull a card for you. This one says, shit or get off the pot. This card is a call to action. You have mulled over a choice for a long time now, and the only way to move forward is to take action. There is no right or wrong move here, but a lack of decisive action will keep you stuck in your cycle of thoughts. And that is my tough shit tarot deck. Okay. Now, another oracle deck that I've used for myself has been the Liquid Crystal Oracle. And it works with Reiki, crystals, gets you energetically connected. I still don't have a full, let's just say, in-depth understanding, but I have worked with the book extensively in regards to working with my crystals, raising my vibration. So it's one of those decks that I will continue to work with in 2018. Okay, now I have the last question here for day number 8. The top 5 decks for my wish list, and it's a lust list. I don't know if you can see that, but that's my 2018 so far lust list, and we're only at today is the 14th. But my top 5, and I'm going to do a video in regards to this. As I said, last year I bought a lot of decks, but in 2018 I'm going to be a bit more responsible and decisive about the decks that I'm going to spend my money on. In 2018, I'm going to be looking for a bit more diversity. I'm going to patronize anyone who creates a deck from high ethical standards. No matter how much I want the deck, if your ethics, your background is questionable, if you do not give, if you don't compensate, if you don't give honor or respect to where you got the inspiration from, I will not be spending my money with you. Now, unfortunately, there are 2 decks on this list before I knew this information. They've been on my lust list, and unfortunately, I will not be purchasing them. I cannot. The person behind these decks is questionable in my mind, and verified and investigated, and I'm stumbling over my words here. because this is an area that I feel very passionate about. And while there are many of us out there who collect these decks without giving a lot of thought, I, Queen Osset, in 2018 will be thinking quite intensely about where I'm going to spend my money. It's not that I need another deck. The desire of what I want cannot take precedence over ethics and standards and what is correct and right. So, the top 5 on my list would be Bone, Stone, and Earth Flesh by Avalon, the Barbie Tarot, the Marigold Tarot, let's see, Tarot de la Croix, and my other deck that I would like to have, I would like the Tarot Transformation. That's been on my list, and I think it's time for me to acquire that. Now, there are a couple of decks that I want that are coming back and they're going to be reprinted, and that would be the Ancestral Path. You know my love of that. The Ma'at Tarot and the Journey into Egypt. These are decks, from what I understand, will be reprinted in 2018. I will go ahead and take a look at them again, and hopefully I'll be making those purchases. So, with that, I am complete for days number 5 through 8, and I will be back with my tarot goals for day number 9, my tarot goals for 2018. Stay blessed.